David Richard at the University of Rochester, talking about perfectionism and how you can be genuine and still achieve your goals. You don't have to be Superman to get into a top school, to do anything you want to do. In fact, being a human, actually having fears, having stresses, that's going to make you a better applicant and a more likable person in general. So what do I mean by all this? I see a lot of students are at the top of their class, 4.0, trying to get a 2400 on the SAT, really kicking butt. But they're perfectionists and they're wound very tight, and they have a lot of trouble ever admitting a fault, ever admitting a stress, ever admitting a shortcoming. And this is not only really unenjoyable for them, but everybody that they interact with is kind of affected by this constant angst. So if you're a student, I have some advice. You want to shed that perfectionism as fast as possible. Now you might be thinking, "Now I don't want to be a slacker." Is that what you're saying, David? No, not at all. I'm saying to focus on the process, do the best you can, but to be comfortable with failure. People who really break through to entirely new levels are comfortable with failure. They learn from failure. They know that success is an iterative process, and if you're not failing, well, you're not trying hard enough. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Really stretch yourself, and don't be afraid to maybe put yourself into social situations that are a little bit uncomfortable initially. So let's say you had a crazy weekend, right? You had the standardized test, you had a sports game, you had to visit a school, you had to volunteer, you had to work, and there's an assignment due Monday, and Friday you don't think you can do it, you don't think you can complete it on time. If you can put yourself through the stress of just sitting down and respectfully talking to your teacher, explaining the situation, chances are, if you've been a great student, that teacher will not only understand that you can't do the assignment, but probably gain a whole new respect for you, because the other top perfectionist students, they're pulling all-nighters and they're tired, and they're kind of a wreck, and maybe the paper isn't even good on Monday. I look kind of tired, I'm tired. There are going to be times when you're exhausted and you do have to push through and pull all-nighters or maybe make some sacrifices, but usually the students I get in touch with, the students I contact, don't have that issue. More of an issue is the fact that they're complete perfectionists, and they can't admit that they're human. And to be honest, if you come to your teacher and say, I can't do this assignment, I have all these things going on, I'm really sorry. If you want to take off points, I totally understand. We want to be respectful. I want to be respectful and fair to the other students who are able to get it in on time. The teacher will probably respect you a lot more. If you're a top student, maybe some faculty at your school, teachers at your school, fellow students at your school, they might think you're kind of a perfectionist, caricature, 2400, 4.0 student. And the fact that you can show a more human side is not only going to make you more likable, they'll be less intimidated, they'll see that you actually are a person. Not only will it do that, but it'll also make you a better applicant. A lot of the best college applications have a real 3D element, if you will, of trial, of failure, of tribulation, and that's what a good story is. A good application is a good story, and what's a good story with no ups and downs? It's kind of a boring movie to watch when everything is perfect, and the movie is just of a guy sweating and getting his work done, writing these papers, and then falling asleep doing the same thing day after day after day. I guess doing all the work is somewhat of a trial, but admitting that you are not perfect, having maybe some flaws as a protagonist, not even a flaw, but just showing that you are human, will endear you to everybody who you want to write a letter of recommendation for you. That'll endear you to everybody you get in contact with through the application process. So not being afraid to ask questions, not being a perfectionist is incredibly important. If you're able to get in touch with alumni from your university, there's a certain tactful way to go about doing that. Go about it as a informational interview. You have a lot of questions on your target university, on your dream school, and there are a lot of things you don't know. You'd love to hear their thoughts. Reach out to alumni. Like I said, there's a certain way to do that. Don't just take people's time or be too bossy or demanding. But in short, being comfortable with the fact that you don't know everything will benefit you through the college application process. You don't know everything about applying. You don't know everything in the classroom. Sometimes you probably know the answer and you're just afraid to raise your hand. You know the answer because you read the whole chapter. Most people in the class didn't, and you're afraid to raise your hand. Think about that, right? Are you gonna regret that in 2 years? Can you think back to middle school when you knew the answer but you didn't raise your hand? Why? Because you're the smart kid. You're the smart kid and you're afraid of failure. But the more you fail, the more you learn. Believe it or not, the more you fail in everything, learn from your failures, you're gonna skyrocket past where you are now. And how can I do that? I'm already at the top. You'll go even higher in ways that aren't reflected just on paper. You'll build a whole nother emotional ecosystem of strength if you're comfortable with failure. You're embracing failure for its learning benefits. So nobody expects you to get the answer right all the time. Nobody expects you to be a perfectionist. So put yourself out there and get through any kind of little anxiety you might have. Getting these shots, it's a quiet Saturday morning, so in getting these shots I asked for some help. Had to ask some strangers if they could help me frame the shot. They could help me shoot my video and just make sure that everything's in focus, minor details that one person can't do well. And I could have just kind of winged it on my own if I had been afraid to ask for help, but I want to give you the best. I want to give you the best advice. I want to make this video look cool, sound cool, have really quality information in it as well, and have the aesthetics be as nice as possible. So I got over a little social anxiety of asking people for help because I had a higher purpose. And that's what you should look at too whenever you're a little bit nervous. What's your higher purpose? In achieving your goal to going to your dream school, there's a reason why you want to go to that school. It's probably to help further your journey to a larger goal, to give your gift to the world. You probably have amazing goals, amazing plans, and you're going to do really consequential things. So if you look at little issues, little social anxieties that you might have, it's a lot easier to sweep those away once you look at your higher purpose that's larger than yourself. I want you to have a great life, I want you to have a fulfilling life, but I want you to align your goals with the service of humanity, to really share your gift. I'm sure you're an incredibly talented student. If you're watching this, you're a top student, and if you ever get a little nervous about something, you have to push through. If you're afraid about asking a teacher a tough question, reaching out to an alumnus, talking to a professor at your dream school, something like that, push through that anxiety by thinking about your larger purpose, and that overcoming those little difficulties will not only benefit you, but will benefit everybody else once you achieve your goals and you're able to share your gift with the world. So if you're not comfortable with failure in high school, you're going to have a really rude awakening when it comes to college. So you might as well learn some skills now that will equip you for college and equip you for life after college. You need to be comfortable with failure. You need to be comfortable with admitting that you don't know everything. And because of that, you need to collaborate with teachers, collaborate with professors, collaborate with your peers, and that there is no shame in that. In fact, there's a lot of strength in admitting you don't know anything. There's a lot of strength in admitting that you don't know something. Hopefully you know some things. I'm sure you do. But there's a lot of strength in admitting that you are not a know-it-all. You're not a perfectionist. You're not some omniscient being. And from that, you're going to do very well in college if you can understand now in high school that success is resulted from a lot of collaboration and a lot of failure and a lot of learning from that failure. You probably have heard learn from failure, and intellectually you know that, but you don't believe it maybe. And you can muscle your way through high school, and you can muscle your way through the admissions process. And by muscle your way through, I just mean throw a lot of hours at something instead of collaborating with people, asking the right questions, and getting the right answers, and saving yourself a lot of time. A lot of people spend hundreds of hours studying junior year, for example, but they're too afraid to have a genuine conversation with one of their teachers, which would only take 20 minutes, and overcoming that anxiety would take about 30 seconds. Just a decision to take action. And the less that you worry about fear of rejection when you're talking to somebody, the less you worry about kind of their perception of you as an intelligent person, the more you're going to learn, and the more of an intelligent person you're going to become. So you really see this in college. People separate, stratify. People who work together and are willing to fail, willing to ask questions, usually rise to the top. And the people who do not collaborate, do not work with their peers, do not admit that they don't know everything, they usually fall to the bottom, unfortunately. And I want you to learn lessons now in high school that you don't know everything, you don't need to be a perfectionist, and I want you to be genuine. And you'll start seeing the benefits immediately in your relationships, in your academics, and when you submit your application, you'll notice it's a lot better because you're coming from a much more genuine place instead of being a perfectionist. Nobody wants to see a movie where everything is perfect and just some guys working all the time. There are going to be ups and downs. You don't know everything. You're the protagonist of this story, and you have a lot of depth. You have a lot going on in your head. So admit to other people you don't know everything. They'll like you more. You'll succeed. You'll get results, and you will be closer to learning how to achieve top performance in whatever you do. People at the top, people who have reached the pinnacle of success, they love failure because they've learned a new blind spot they have and they can correct it. If you don't fail, you don't know your mistakes and they exist, and you carry your mistakes around with you. But if you fail, you're able to diagnose what issues you have and correct them. You're running a marathon, and I don't just mean with the college application process. The whole process of applying to colleges is a perfect microcosm for you to experiment with being comfortable with failure, to be less of a perfectionist, and a perfect opportunity for you to be comfortable asking for help. You think of any kind of sports team, elite sports athlete, they have coaches. Anybody at the pinnacle of their field, they have coaches. So I don't just mean with the college application videos. I'm happy to help you. But be comfortable asking for advice from your parents, your teachers, people you don't even know who might have some kind of expertise to help you and guide you through the process, not only of applying to colleges, but through life. You have a lot going on. Don't be afraid to ask for help. People will be more than happy to help you. You'll get a lot out of it, and you'll gain insight that a lot of your peers won't have because they were simply too afraid to ask. I'm David Richard, coming at you from the University of Rochester. Talk to you soon.